I wanted to quickly go over how I make holes for stitching in the sheath. This process really took a while to figure out. Kind of a perfectionist, and it's not so simple to make holes on both sides that look relatively attractive, are neat, and they match up. You can't really punch through. You know, if you punch with a hole punch top down, first of all, they will come out unevenly here because you can't really do it perpendicularly. So that doesn't really work so well. Drilling is not ideal. It's messy and it's not, you know, the hole is very jagged. Not perfect. So basically it takes, you know, a little bit of work to get this done. Well, the first step you need to do is after you glue the sheath, so the sheath was just glued down, or glued down a few hours ago. First thing you need to do is make this edge really perpendicular to the sides of the sheath. So I do this on the belt grinder. So I will go on the belt grinder and grind down this to be relatively even on a very coarse grit. I think I use like 36 or 60 grit belt. And just make it really kind of as parallel, as even as I can. It doesn't have to be perfectly finished, but I finish it the best way I can on a high grit belt. It has to be structurally like straight and perpendicular to the rest of the sheath. So I'm gonna go get that done and come back. So this is back from the belt grinder. You can see there's a little whatever this would be called, burr right here. So the first thing I do is I cut off the burr. Again, you will refinish this edge in the future, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so that's that. Next, what I do is I cut the groove that the stitch will lay in. So you pick one side and you go from there. So I use a groove cutter that's pretty fancy. I don't know who makes it. I think it's some, I don't know what company this is, but this is a US made groove cutter that's pretty high quality. You know, it's a little bit probably longer from the edge than I want it to be because I will still have to grind down some of the edge. And this is a very important step because if you're not careful here, you might kind of mess it up and it's going to be crappy quality. So I'm going to do this carefully. I don't know how much you'll be able to see on camera. Let's see here. I need an owl. So we start, you know, somewhere here. So you want to start maybe right here. And here, probably start somewhere right here. This is a very easy step, but I've definitely messed it up before. And somebody calls you in the middle of it. Alright, so that's that. Let me put you on hold while I answer this. Not so important. So we cut this groove in. Now we do the same thing on the back. Again, it doesn't have to be, you know, the start and the end points can be adjusted a little bit, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but the turns is what's hard. The straight line is easy. The turns are hard. Basically, the point is that you want to kind of anticipate the turns. Alright, so if this was just a simple sheath, then we would be done. We would just start making the holes here. But because this is going to be a double stitched right here, and there's going to be a little triangle here, it gets a little bit more complicated. So first thing to do is to make a hole right here and here, and you have to get your best awl for this. And the rest of your tools that you're gonna need. So I have two owls, kind of a thick one, and the thin one. I have a little Dremel tool that uses these little, I think about 1mm carbide drills. They are, you know, they're not quite thick enough to go, well, they're almost thick enough to go through the whole thickness of the sheath. And then what I use is a little 1mm punch. Let's see how this works out. A little anvil, just a piece of steel. So first thing I do is I find the place where this hole is going to be. So let's say it's going to be right here, right? So first thing I do is I punch a nice little hole right there. Kind of try to make it as perpendicular. You don't punch all the way through. So you see you punched like a little bit through, but that's a hole. Next, you put the sheath in, you put the small, thinnest owl you have, and you kind of make a perpendicular stab all the way through to see where you come on another end. So you see you came out right there. So that's where your other side of this hole is going to be. So we go back and punch right here. I used the wrong hammer. Ooh. Let's see. This hammer is better. So let's see here. Boom. Alright, so you basically punch this hole through. It looks a little bit thicker than what you probably want it to be, but in the end it will turn out perfect. So there you go. So your first hole, and the point of this is mostly to make them aligned. You know, you can see that this is not quite parallel to the way the holes are, and that's actually what you want. You want this hole to be kind of more perpendicular to the lines of the sheath as opposed to the top of the sheath. So that's your first hole. Now we have to do the same thing at the bottom. So find a first place, punch it through. Now punch it all the way through. There we go. Center right here. And punch it here. Boom. So this one, like I didn't punch it through far enough, so we take our little Dremel with a 1 millimeter drill and drill it through. Now it goes through much easier. Boom, boom. Okay. So you have your 2 holes made. Now what I usually will do is I will make the next kind of the parallel line here. So I'm going to first move this out of the way. I have a little flexible ruler somewhere like this. So first I'm going to draw a line like this. And now how far off is it going to be? I usually make them you know, our steps, our stitches are going to be 5 millimeters each, so I think 5 millimeters maybe is the best distance apart here. So center it in the hole you already made, and that's going to be your other hole, your second hole. So the same thing here, kind of make a rough estimate of a hole and then punch it through. There you go. And now punch it through. Good. Here, and make a hole punch right there. And theoretically, perfect. Came out right here. Boom, boom. Okay, next is decide how long, how far down this is going to go. And I usually make it, I think, I don't know, 2 inches, let's say. So you draw a parallel line from, let's see, you're not seeing what I'm doing here. Let's see. So you draw a parallel line from this hole along this line that's 2 inches long, approximately. And you kind of make sure it looks, you know, you make sure this looks acceptable to you, and it does. So we use the same tool, take out the guide, and very carefully cut this groove. Boom. And now cut this groove up here between the 2 holes at the top. There you go. That's nice. Now, same thing down here. It's a little bit harder because this little thing gets in the way, but you do the best you can. So, again, 2 inches we decided, right? So this is where maybe drawing the line first would be helpful. Yep, so you kind of make a rough draft there, and then you draw it, you cut it from this side. Go, and we cut the little hole, little line right here. Boom. Okay, so good. So we cut the grooves here and here, here and here. This last groove, this triangle one, we'll do later. We're not going to do it right now. We'll do it after the holes are made. So the next step is to mark the stitch holes. So I use a couple of different things. These are hole punches that are 5mm spaced. They are not the kind that are like diamond shaped. They really are just round, sharp points. I find that these for my purposes work better. I have the diamond ones too, but this is better. And then there's also a Japanese roller thing like this that's also 5mm apart, so you could see, like, you could mark the grooves here. I mean, mark the holes, and these holes match up the hole punch. Boom, right there, and these match up really, really well. So let's start. Put this tool together so it doesn't get lost. This is a very expensive one, unfortunately. So these 2 holes are made. Then we're going to do the top one first. So again, this like this. So we put the top little hole. Some people say that it's better to do it like this because you could be more perpendicular. That's fine. So top, this hole, this punch into the top hole. Put them right in the middle of the thing. And punch them through. Remember, try to be kind of as perpendicular as you can. And this, we're not punching deeply, we're just marking them. So it doesn't have to be, you know, deep at all. And then, like this, that's going to be the second. Boom. So the holes are roughed. Now we do the same thing on the back. And then how many extra holes? So we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 that don't fit. So we're going to have 4 extra holes here, like this. All right. So that's done. Now we do the same thing on the outer edge, and we'll start on the back this time. It's best to overlap these a little bit. They come out a lot nicer. So we go until the bend. Boom. Until the bend, and we do the same thing on the front. Till the bend. Overlap by a couple. And it's probably going to be... Okay, so that's it. So we have the top part kind of done, and this is where we then go through and punch the holes. So just like we did previously, we take our little 1mm punch and very carefully, I'll use this mallet here, just punch them through. They don't have to go all the way in. Your goal is to go halfway through. That's it. So right there. Same thing on the outside. You get an idea of kind of how hard you have to hit them to get halfway through. You can't punch it all the way through. The point is that you will punch them on both sides and they will meet up. And there'll be just a little piece of leather between them, between the two holes, and you could easily power through them. So that's what you get. I don't know if you can see. Looks very nice. They don't go all the way through. So now we do the same thing on the back side. This is from a company called Wuta. I think it's Chinese. Actually, you know, fairly reasonable quality little punch. I have a few backup ones. They're not terribly expensive. And it's nicer to have an extra one if this one stops working. I think this is still my first or second one. Alright, and now this one. So, you know, you would think that punching this stuff takes a long time, but it really doesn't. It's not too bad at all. I mean, I think the quality you get is really superior. When you're punching them, some of them you can feel go right through, and some of them you can feel are not going through because they're just not aligned. So now we take our thin owl again and just start going through the holes. This owl unfortunately has like a sharp edge here, so if you shove it in there it will bruise the leather. So see, it doesn't go through easily, but if you kind of force it through a little bit, oh, it comes out perfectly on the other side. And you just have to very kind of gently with a really, really sharp owl go through every hole. These are lined up pretty nicely. They're not always like this. Sometimes you're a little bit off. But even if you're off, you're going to be off the same amount. So you are going to kind of know which direction to go to come out. You know, the thing is, the line they don't have to be lined up exactly on both sides. Even if they're like, if the string goes in sideways, it doesn't make any difference. You'd still be fine. It will look perfect. Let's see here. So this one is coming out a little bit in a different place. So you just redirect it. So with this very, very small owl, the beauty of it is that you really can't, you know, if you come out of the other side in the wrong place and then go back, it doesn't scar the leather significantly. All right. So we went through the outer edge. You can see no drilling, perfect holes, no fuzz. What I don't like is the fuzz. Sometimes you get, there's a little bit of fuzz, but it's minimal compared to what you would do if you drilled them out. So now we do the back row. This front row was remarkably easy, easier than normal. So let's see. There we go. I don't know how much of this you can see. Okay, so that's it. You have basically this part done, perfectly matching holes. You could see here, if you go through, you can kind of tell that the hole is perpendicular to the sheath fold. All right, so we did the top. Now we have to get through the curve. So the curve, this long one is beautiful for the straight path. The curve you obviously cannot do with it, so you have to use the double one. And the double one is, you know, it's easier to get off, a little bit off when you're doing this. So we do the best we can. Okay, so we got through the curve. So these holes we can safely punch. We can just punch them through the way we did the other ones. What I'm saying is that it's easier to keep the ones punched with the spat punch is easier to keep them aligned because they don't get as off as much. So here, what I do is I take the last hole after the bend and I again perpendicularly punch it through with my little thin owl, or awl. I don't know how to say this. I'm kind of a foreigner. So there we go. Boom. You could see it came out right there. I don't know if you can see. So this will be the hole that's definitely in line. So we're going to make a really clear mark here. All right. And now go back with my single step again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, you know, there's a good chance that these are not going to be as well aligned as the other ones, but that's okay. So we punch these ones through. Boom. 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 So this technique from a very kind of well-known Russian sheath maker. It's a knife maker and a sheath maker, who makes beautiful, beautiful sheath, and he punches all the holes. And initially it seems like it's kind of like an intimidating job, but once you start doing it, you realize that it's really, you know, not so bad. And drilling is problematic on many levels. Many people say that drilling, like, doesn't make the holes as kind of high quality, rips the leather. I don't know. One thing you gotta have for this is a really, really sharp awl. This is one of these French. Oh, it's not expensive, but it's just very, very thin. It's tiny. All right, so these holes weren't too bad. So all the holes go through, and again, no fuzz. Perfect. You could probably see through them. I don't know if you can, but that's it. So now we're back to a straight line. So a straight line, fortunately, is much simpler. So we again take our big 6-step or whatever, seven stepper, and just punch the holes until the next turn. Again, nothing too okay, until the turn. And then we punch the holes. Just for those of you who drill the holes, you know all the fuzz that flies everywhere, the dust. And I don't think they look amazing. All right, so now what I do here is, again, so, you know, punch holes on one side. I take my owl again and kind of do a guide hole to know where it should come out. So right there. Put a little owl mark, boom, right there. And then, you know, I do another one. I do another one kind of in the middle. Go through. Boom, right there. And maybe one more. Here. All right, perfect. So those are our little, you know, kind of guides. So start from the back this time. Boom. You can remember to overlap them. Makes it nicer. Now, if we're aligned, this should match. You know, if this hole should match with our spacing. So if we start, let's say, 2 holes overlap here, you can see, boom, it's pretty damn close. So 2 hole overlaps and like this. Okay, and the last one should overlap. Boom. Okay, perfect. Now we punch the holes. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you can, when you're punching these holes through, you can tell if you're hitting, if you're kind of tunneling to the other side or not. Because there's like a little thump you can hear. Okay. I don't know if I already said it, but this is not the best leather in the world. This is something from Tandy, and it's kind of like not the nicest leather in the world, but it's okay. It will work for this. This is kind of a trial sheath anyways. Unfortunately with sheath making, I find that, I don't know, unless you are extremely good and like a true professional, I always find that I have to make 2 of them to make the design really work. First one is always, or very often, a little bit off. Like something is wrong with it. Like something is a little bit off. Sometimes the fit is off, sometimes the strap is off. Oh, see, there we go. So it came out a little bit off. I redirected it right in the middle of the hole on the other side. Okay. Ugh. There we go. And we're still going to make these holes better. This is just the first part. Okay. I think we're done. Okay, good. So that's it. So now the holes through here are done. Next we go to the bend, so we use our two tooth one, and here's not gonna fit, so we use the 5-tooth one. Boom, perfect. It fits right with our other hole. So here, sometimes, you know, I guess you don't have to make this hole in the beginning. You can make it at the end, so it's better aligned, but, you know, whatever. This worked out okay. So again, same as before, we hole punch the front. Okay. Good. Now the back, we use the five hole one. Boom. So we again here, 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 and here, and this one in the middle we can just estimate. Boom. Okay. Now let's punch these holes through, or poke them through. So these ends are a little bit off, not as nicely aligned, but you can kind of, you know, with this small owl, you can just make them come out where they need to come out still. It's not that big of a deal. And once you do one, you kind of know which way to go to come out right in the center of the other hole. Like, there we go. I don't know how much of this you can see, but hopefully I'm explaining enough to where it's worth. Kind of, I can understand what I'm doing. All right, so this is the hole in the bend. That's it. Okay, so really, I mean, you know, that's not bad. Now we do this little bit tricky part. On these bushcraft sheath, I do thread a stitch line like this. We have to first look at our sheath layout, whatever template, to make sure that it's, you know, that it's not going to, it's still going to be in the welt. So it's going to be somewhere right here, from here to here. So that's perfectly fine. And what I do usually is I start from this hole and do like a little triangle of 5 by 5. So we're going to do this one and to this one. So we take our little cheap plastic ruler first and draw a line so we know where we're going to be. And then kind of estimate the holes. So this is the 5 millimeter hole punch. I don't know if it's gonna be really nice or not. I don't know. You have to decide if you want to make them more than 5 millimeters apart or less. I think probably less is better. So in any case, what you do is first you cut the hole, cut the groove. So we take our little tool again. So if you don't have a tool like this, you can use this kind of a groove cutter. That works fine too, and I've used that before. Use it for some applications. You know, it's not as nice, but it's, you know, definitely works, so that's fine. So let's see here. Let's okay. So we used this one from both sides. So 1 hole, 2 hole, 3 hole, 4 hole, 5, 6, and 7. So that's, you know, it's acceptable. Let's punch them again. Let's see, where's our little mallet right here. there's going to be a hole in the middle of the triangle, but I usually punch that in after I stitch it up. Alright, now we have to do the same thing on the back, and the most important thing here is to align the groove correctly. So it's going to be right there, like this and like this, and groove cutter. Okay. This is a very cheap groove cutter from Tandy. Had it for a long time. Nothing fancy at all. And the same thing here. Some holes from here and some holes from here. And we kind of pick the medium. Not the medium, but the average. Ooh. Let's see, did we screw this up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think here there's 7 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so remember, you can fix all this before you punch them through, so just kind of ignore that. And remember, you have to have 7 holes, so it's going to be 1, and there we go. I think that's better. Yeah, that's better. So because it's kind of funky like this, we're just going to punch them. Okay, so now, looks nicer on this side than on this side, but, you know, that's fine. So we, again, punch them through. And remember, you're allowed to come out in the wrong place. Like if you make a little puncture here with this tiny awl, it's not going to cause any problems. Really, no problems at all. Okay. Okay. Good. 3. This is very hard to hold. Let's see here. Boom. See, we came out too far down the line, so we redirect a little bit. Still came out too far down the line. It's almost perfect, but there we go. I don't know why it's so stiff here. Maybe I didn't punch deep enough. Okay, and just 2 more holes left. These are always a little bit more wonky because it's not, see, I punched through and there's a mark there because I hit it with this. So what I used to do is I had a little leather like bumper here, which I lost somewhere, but you can put that on. Alright, that's it. So all the holes are made. And that's it. I mean, this is not such a terrible process for having a nice aligned line of holes. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the edge, because when we cut the groove out, there was a little unpainted area that came up. So we take our paint take a little paintbrush. Let's see, this is, I think, a newer brush. It's hard to find a brush that's the right size. And we just by hand, very carefully, paint it. It's not hard. And this is easy. Looks a little bit darker, but when you do the sheath, you're not going to be able to tell. It's nicer to get a little bit of paint. See? This is very easy. This looks harder than it is. Boom. This side is done. Same thing on the back. Speaking to myself here, don't rush. What's a little bit, you know, I don't know if I could do this better. The holes don't get dyed inside so much, so the holes are kind of, some of them you will be able to see a little undyed blotch, but you know, I think in the end it's not a big deal. You could go in and like dye each hole like this, but I usually don't do that. Okay, so you dyed it. That's good. Now I'm gonna go wash the brush because it's gonna get ruined. All right, so we're back. The hardest part is done. All the holes are made. You know, it looks very nice. No drilling. Did you notice? No drilling? No drilling. Which I really, really prefer. Next is going to be a step that I do that I think makes a big difference. So first thing I'm going to do that's kind of not the step. Has nothing to do with the step that I do, but I'll dye this because kind of it will harden it while I do the stitching. So it'll be easier to sand down for the final finish. Paint takes a while to dry. Okay. Again, it does not have to be perfect in this case right now. This is kind of a very rough draft. Okay. So the last step for the holes, which is I think very important, is this. So I have a Dremel with a little chuck attachment, and I put one of the 1.2 millimeter sewing needles. It's a little bit thicker than the needles, so I usually sew with 1 millimeter needle. This is a little bit thicker. Put it in the Dremel. Get a piece of wax. It can be any wax. Start the Dremel. Oh, I'm going to talk about it before I start the Dremel. So, start the Dremel on low speed. Get a little bit of wax on the needle, and then punch each hole as the Dremel is running with this dull needle to kind of make a path for myself. Do it from the one side, and then do it from the other side. And this way, all the holes are just perfect. They're going to be all like finished on the inside with wax. It's going to be beautiful. Let's show how this works. Low speed. So this kind of polishes the inside of the hull. Makes a much better path for the needle. Again, don't touch the leather with the chuck because it will leave a nasty mark. Some of them do not work. So you kind of have to play around with them. Like this hole is not working. Let's see. So there was one that did not go through. So this one went through easily. The next one I think is the one. This one maybe didn't go through. Yeah. Or no, it's this one. This one, this one, this one. So maybe I didn't punch it through or something. Maybe I missed it. Yeah, this looks like I missed it on the way, on the first run. So no problem. So that's it. We went through all of them from this side. It does splatter the wax a little bit on the sheath, but that's not, I don't think that's especially a bad thing. All right, and now we do the back. Melt the wax a little bit. Some of them just do not go in kind of as smoothly as you would expect, and you just have to play around with them. Be very gentle and find the path. So I think that's pretty much it. All the holes are made. They are absolutely, you know, in my opinion, they are pretty perfect. You know, I use a 1mm thread, Tiger or something thread. I mean, I don't know how you could do them better than this, honestly. Well, there's probably a way to do them better than this, but this, I came to this after many Sheath where I was not happy with the whole quality. So next is just stitching it up. Stitching it up is relatively straightforward. There's 1,000 good videos on YouTube showing how to saddle stitch. Not much to that. But that's it. I will show you when it's over, when it's finished. Forgot one more step that's kind of nice to do, is to take this tool that's also 5mm in step. You know, you don't have to do this, but I find that it just kind of buries the stitches, buries the groove much nicer. So you kind of have to go right over the, like this. I can show you. Like, you see the difference between the ones that were whatever this, use this tool on, and the ones that weren't. So it just kind of makes it nicer. It's obviously much harder to do on bends, but for the straight path, I kind of like how this looks. And then you can do it after you put the stitches on too. After you put the stitches in, you can do the same thing. And I'm lucky that this one aligns perfectly with a 5mm hole punch. Not all of them do, unfortunately. I think in US most people use the like holes per inch system. It's a little bit different. So these are probably not going to align as well because, okay. So yeah, this just makes it look even nicer, even nicer. I definitely recommend doing this if you have this little tool. I think I got it from Japan somehow, somewhere. One of the Japanese leather companies. The thing about Japanese leather stuff is that it's often it requires a little bit of work to make it work. Like I bought some Japanese chisels for leather, and they were beautiful. I mean, they were well done, but they are not sharpened. They were just not sharpened at all. They needed to be sharpened. Okay, perfect. Even nicer. It was nice before, even nicer. The last thing you can do is go like this. Alright, so beautiful holes. Beautiful holes. Show them to you one more time. Just perfect, ready for the stitching. And this makes stitching easy. Like, super easy. I mean, you know, as easy can be. So that's it. I will show you how it looks when it's over. Well, this is the final result here after the stitches are in. And I think you can tell the effects of this was a mistake that I made. I poked a hole in the leather, but so that's pretty much the result that these hole punch method gives you. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.